Rodney is, as we talked about, is terrific. Harold, Tiff Bingham was the #2 president of Memphis MA. Rodney was #3. Bingham was the, we always told him he was not only the gray hair, but he was also the only blue blood that was on the board of Memphis and May. And I said, we would use you to go back and talk to them if we had any problems with any of the people out in East Memphis. Marvelous man, spent thousands of hours trying to make this thing. We had no money. This was not funded by the chamber. It was not funded by the city of Memphis. The city of Memphis didn't have any money either. We went a huge recession/depression. So we went out and raised the money. That $60,000 that we spent, we had a $52,000 budget, went out and raised it from Jack Morris had a bicentennial commission celebration the year before. He had money left over, $30,000. FedEx decided that FedEx knew guys in town about 4 years. They gave us $1,200 for a Court Square International project, and First Tennessee gave us some money for a business conference that we did. And so we cobbled together this $52,000 and all this fabulous energy and all these volunteers because there was no staff. And so, the Memphis MA you see today is on the backs of all these people, the volunteers and the staff of all these years. I'm looking at Cynthia Ham, and she saved our bacon one time about, when did you come in, 86, 7? 87, we were in a terrible situation. And she came in and kind of smoothed the waters and took it to new heights. And it was, always thank you for that, Cynthia Ham. Always thank you for that. So it's kind of been up and down, as you do with volunteer organizations, up and down, and then then it's been hitting a good plane the last 12 or 15 years with Jim and Diane and the staff. They really have done some wonderful things. I have toured the new building that they have out on Front Street. There are hundreds of awards from the International Festival Association that this organization has won for the education program, the Beale Street program, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's been really a phenomenon what they've continued to grow. And then we have great lineup, and then we have 2 days of rain. So go figure. God, please. All right, we talked about how successful we were as far as Japan is concerned. Elkington tells me Beale Street does 20% of its revenue in the month of May. 20% of the revenue in the month of May. Just think about all the jobs that has created, all the tips that are paid to waiters and waitresses and the houses that have been bought for people too, right, John? Right. This guy wouldn't be a Beale Street if he hadn't taken the risk to take on Beale Street when I wouldn't have done it in a heartbeat. I would not have done it. He did it, grew something that none of us thought was possible back in that period of time. And we need to give him a great hand because he brings hundreds of thousands of people to Memphis every year because of this. Thank you, John. And National Geographic talked about that. I don't see that enough. We ought to be promoting that all over the world. National Geographic has named Memphis one of the 12 places because of Beale Street and barbecue. My gosh. It's a wonderful thing to be able to say. And one thing about economics, one more thing. In 2011, they did an economic study about the festival by the Sparks Center at the university. It created, just in 2011, $76 million of economic input for the city. $76 million. It paid, because of that activity, it created $26 million in state and local taxes. Think about that. We had no public money in this organization. It's all private money. Tom Hutton threatened us a number of times, don't ever take public money, state and local money. And we didn't, except maybe one time to promote the festival, I think, back when Jeff Sanford was president, enabled us to do that. So, but just think about that kind of economic activity. And I've gone back over the 36 years, and we've created close to $1.5 billion in activity for this community, this organization, and it's paid somewhere in the $500 to $600 million in state and local taxes, and not on not on public funds. So thank you for everything. Thank all my friends that are here. I hope you take a look at the people who are on the boards. Richard Bethay's year is when that board of directors is there. And these are the original posters, Beale Street Music Festival and the Memphis in May International Festival one. There were 3 music events that Rodney's team came up with that first year. There was a jazz a festival the next weekend, and then there was a symphony on the river that the committee and Martha Ellen Maxwell had so much to do with. So thank you all for coming. I'm sorry we bored you. Hope we didn't. Hope you learned something. Thank you so much, Brian.
Just a couple of very short things. First of all, I want to thank all the board members of the Note Committee, Dr. Rana and Ken and anyone else who's on the committee. Oh, Mike Glenn for being here. Again, thanks Cynthia Hand, who had such a part in Beale Street, for coming. And I want to thank Preston Lamb, who has meant so much to Beale Street, for letting us use his restaurant in prime dining time. And I want to invite, I know Lyman and Sally would love to have you come over into the Blues Hall, which is adjacent to this building. You just walk right through the bar and disturb all the people at the bar. And we have a reception. If you want to meet and talk, I'm sure with all of you. Thank you so much for coming on a rainy night.
My wife didn't have to put up with me the first few years, and there's my wonderful wife, Sally, only the last 28 years.
Yeah. Well, aren't you glad I mentioned you? Right across the hall.
Didn't understand you had one of my employees.
Well, not in my office. Linda Bonnet's office. She's